Hey friends, welcome back. Today's video is so exciting. I finally get to tell you the best books that I read this year in 2024. I think I could guarantee that my favorite book of the year is going to surprise you, because I didn't expect it either. I have narrowed it down to my top 10, though I do have quite a few honorable mentions. Let's get into it. I think that places 10 through 2 aren't necessarily in order, but my final top book of the year is in the #1 spot, so we'll talk about that one last. But this book in particular, I would have bet money that I read it last year in 2023, but apparently I read it this year. That's how quick this year has gone by. I have to put Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson on this list. This was the most fun I have had reading in so long. This is like a blend between a classic and modern murder mystery. It's told by our main character, our narrator, Ernie Cunningham, and his whole family is congregating at this ski resort for a family reunion, so to say, because one of his brothers just got released from prison. So they're all meeting this snowy ski resort, sort of like an isolated location, and a body turns up one morning frozen in the slopes. So everyone kind of thought that he just died of hypothermia, but they found out his airway was covered with ash. So it seems that he had died by fire in a pristine white snowfield and no trace of anything else. I don't know, very odd. Chaos and hijinks ensue because his family, literally the title, Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone, that's true. And we're following his entire family during the situation. The plot twists literally had my jaw on the ground. I will never forget my reading experience for this because it was so fun, so funny, so engaging, and 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, whatever you want to do. The next one, I don't have a physical copy and I need to get one. It is Bloom by Delia S. Dawson. This is not by far, because there's another one later, but one of the 2 best horror books that I read all year. I'm obsessed with this book. We're following our main character, Rosemary. She meets this girl named Ash at the farmer's market. Ash sells these amazing cupcakes, bars of soap. Rosemary sees her, sort of becomes infatuated with her, and it seems like it's sort of reciprocated from Ash, and a relationship ensues, right? It's all very sweet and innocent and explorative in the beginning. But the tagline is a sweet sapphic romance takes a deadly dark turn in this sharp as knife novella. It's so short. It is only 200 pages. And when I tell you the trajectory of the story, it literally is so sweet and it literally takes a dark, deadly turn. It is so crazy. Another one that had my jaw literally on the ground multiple times. The atmosphere is phenomenal. The characterization of these 2 women, so good. I don't know how Delia S. Dawson was able to make me feel this strongly about a book in only 200 pages, but I would consider Bloom in my favorite books of all time, forever. Damn, so good. The next book that I want to talk about, I want to preface by saying this is the most creative book I read all year, I think. I want to say that. The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. This is a fantasy book and it really does take some really wild turns, very much out of our known experience, and it's told and narrated in a way that I have never experienced before, and I don't think I'll ever forget it for that reason specifically. This book is very difficult for me to explain, but we're basically following our 2 main characters who are shepherding a god across their land, from point A to point B, but along this journey a lot goes on, a lot of things go wrong, and the end goal is not only to deliver messages, but also to end the reign of the royal family, because they're bad people, all right? The emperor and his 3 sons, who are known as the 3 terrors, they're awful, and we want them gone. And this journey is helping to make that happen. And the god they're shepherding, it's just, guys, it will literally bend your mind. I think that it's written in such a way that is fantasy to a point of, I almost wanted to say delusion. And I don't know why, but you have to be able to sit down and read this with an open mind. Definitely read this with an audiobook in tandem if you can, because there are many paragraph breaks. There are just single lines that sometimes mean that the point of view is switching and the narrator will switch a little bit, and that'll help you keep track of things. But also sometimes it's just a very important thought or experience that is happening, and it requires a little bit of a break for you to sit and think. It's so good. I could see myself rereading it in the future. Okay, this one, I think that I'm surprised that it's here. I don't think that I expected it to be here, but since I read this book, I haven't stopped thinking about it. I feel like it deserves it. Ripe by Sarah Rosetter. This is the most hopeless and sad book that I read this year. I don't know if it's the most sad, I take that back, but it definitely is the most hopeless. We're following our main character Cassie, who's working for this startup Silicon Valley sort of company, and she hates it. She hates her job. She hates being surrounded by the people that work in this place. They are very unthoughtful, they're very privileged, and she ends up getting pregnant unexpectedly. At the same time that her CEO of her company like brings her into this like private group to try to do some like illegal things to make their company like do better in the face of their competitors. There's a lot going on. Cassie is deeply depressed in every aspect of her life, and it's really just about that and the black hole that is like her depression given a like persona or a thing within this story that keeps coming up. I'm a big fan of like repetitiveness, and it just like by the end it completely consumed me. This is not a fun read by any means, but I have never read a book that felt so horribly poignant and thoughtful on depression and what this could look like in someone who like genuinely doesn't care about themselves at all or what happens to them, etc., etc. I really respect this book, and I really respect Sarah Rose Etter. It deserves to be on this list, even though it's really difficult. The ending specifically just like literally won't leave my mind ever. Next, we're halfway through is going to be The Will of the Many by James Islington. Duh. I feel like you knew this was going to be on here, just like another one you'll see later, but this is a phenomenal first book in a series. We have a main character who is basically picked out of an orphanage and being sent to this like prestigious academy by one of the higher ups in this hierarchy, the hierarchy being the government in this world. His new like adoptive father is sending him to this academy to basically be undercover and try to get information for him. He's supposed to be investigating a murder and to search for some ancient weapon that he has no idea what it is, what it does, anything like that. But aside from these tasks that he's assigned in the academy, he has his own motivations and things that he wants to do and figure out for himself, because he is actually also not who his adoptive father really thinks that he is. He has his own secrets, and it is such a well-crafted world. These characters are so good. The school setting is interesting. There's also some like games and trials going on. And what this book like devolves into by the like last 15-20% took a turn that I was not expecting at all. And it was that plot twist that made me completely obsessed with the book. Like I knew that it was going to be really good, but what James Islington did with this story and this plot line by the end of this book, like immediate auto buy. I will eat up the second book because it is just so interesting and so phenomenal. I cannot wait to continue. This next one, I love this book so much. I mean, I love all these books, but oh my God, The Lost Story by Meg Schaefer. It is a warm hug. We're following our main character whose estranged sister went missing like so long ago, and she brings the missing persons case to this boy, this guy, okay? This guy's name is Jeremy. He and his friend Rafe, like so many years ago, got lost in this one forest. They showed up many years later in really, really bad shape. Rafe doesn't remember anything about being lost or what happened to them, but Jeremy remembers it all, and Jeremy now has this like uncanny ability to help find missing women and girls. That is why our main character brings this missing persons case to him, and he begrudgingly agrees to help her because her sister went missing in the same woods that they did. Ooh, guys, the plot continues to thicken, all right? It is so good because not only is there like that mystery, but it is so fantasy, it is so classic fairy tale that it makes me want to scream about it. Like it is so much fun, so good. I was on the edge of my seat. The last even like 50 pages had like 4 plot twists that I wasn't expecting. I would die for these characters. I want book 2, even though I don't think that there is ever going to be. I would just eat up anything in this world. This is brilliant. This is amazing. I love it. The sun is crazy right now because it's setting and I have a window right there. So we're gonna do our best. This next one is the other horror that I read and loved so much, and it's Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay. Don't you just love when a highly anticipated release actually delivers for you? Because that's the best feeling in the world. That's what happened with Horror Movie, because I am just a Paul Tremblay girl through and through. How he writes horror is exactly what I love. I love the slow, atmospheric, sort of just like creepy and eerie. It doesn't have to be like high action and all the gore. Like I love the slow builds. I love letting me sit and think about like what the hell is going on, and then like punching me in the face with a really dramatic scene or something. I don't know, whatever. This also has one of my favorite like horror tropes, and that's like the cursed film genre. This is following a dual timeline where like way back when, 1993, there's a young group of guerrilla filmmakers. They made Horror Movie, and it never completely saw the light of day. Only a few like specific scenes I think were ever released. But in today's timeline, there are a set of people who are trying to remake it, and there's only one surviving cast member, and his name is the Thin Kid. Creepy already, right? Yeah. But they get him to come on and like remake it basically. Oh, I just get chills, like so creepy. And we're following the then and now of both situations, like learning about what actually happened and then learning about like the remake and how the thin kid is coping and remembering things and all of it. And it's just my favorite type of horror. Truly, I love it. It's an obsessive, psychologically chilling and suspenseful feat of storytelling genius that builds inexorably to an unforgettable and mind-bending conclusion. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Okay, top 3. Are we ready? I'm not ready. It's the way that this one almost didn't even make it in my top 10, but when I was sitting here prepping for this video like 30 minutes ago, I revisited this book. I like flipped through the last 50 pages or so. I'm just getting sent back to when I read it and I sobbed. This book destroyed me. And after flipping through the last so many pages, I had no choice but to include Barret Toown by Frederick Bachman on this list. It's about this small town named Barret Toown, and they have a high school hockey team who is doing like really well this year. So well that they might like go to the championships and get a lot of sponsors into the city and really rejuvenate like the economy and infrastructure. And a lot is riding on that championship game. Like it's a lot of pressure to put on just a set of high school boys. That pressure starts to get to a lot of them. One night there's a house party and things happen there that sort of destroys everything. It enacts like a set of events that changes a lot of people's lives. And we're following that situation and that aftermath, and it is just heartbreaking. But I can say it with a smile on my face, mostly because I'm trying not to cry, but also because I don't know what it is. Even though this book made me like uncontrollably sob for over 20 minutes, I felt so like light at the end of it that it doesn't really correlate, because yes, this book is so difficult to read at times, but by the end, it was the most worth it book I've ever read. I can't believe I almost didn't put this on my top 10. It's so good. It's so good. Okay, you knew this was gonna be on here. Let's just get it over with. It's The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This is Brandon Sanderson at his best. How well constructed this book is mostly why it's on the list. Yes, I did read it. I did love the story. I love all the characters, but the way that it's structured makes it flow so perfectly. I think that this is just such a well-crafted fantasy novel because yeah, it's really, really long, but it does not feel like you're reading for as long as you actually are. All the point of views and characters are done so expertly. The world building is just so massive, but doesn't feel confusing. This is such a great first book in a series because I could tell that there were many things that were brought up that will be explained and explored later, but it wasn't completely unexplained now. Like I got enough to be satisfied for now, but I'm excited to learn more about the world and the characters and the magic. There's just like inklings all throughout the book that make me so excited to continue, and continue I am. This is definitely in my top 10. Guys, what do you think my best book of the year was? What do you think? I want to know if anyone got this right. My favorite book of 2024 is Welcome to the Hunam Dong Bookshop by Huang Bo Rim. So really quick, I'm putting this in my top spot for specific reasons. I do think that there are other books that I read this year that hit me harder, or ones that I think were like more of a masterful feat to have constructed as an author, you know, like things like that. But for me, this book meant a lot to me. This book is sort of what I want to strive for in my life moving forward in a way, and I'll explain a little bit. This book is about our main character. Her name is Yangju and she's burned out. She did everything she was supposed to do, and she is just unhappy. She's unhappy with her life. She decides to change it. All she wants to do is open up a bookstore, and we're following her through that journey, learning what it takes to open a bookstore, how to attract more customers, learning how to create like book clubs within the community, getting more foot traffic. We're following her writing journey. We're following other point of views as well, like the barista who gets brought in to work at the bookshop. We're following a woman who comes to the bookshop every day and knits, and just little like slice of life things like that. The central point is this bookstore. It's a place that people are going for, yes, for books and for maybe coffee every now and then, but it is a place that they're going for conversation and a sense of belonging and community. This is a beautiful book for readers, for writers, for, bookstore lovers. And my favorite thing about this book is just how I felt while reading it. Like, I wanted to live in this book forever, and I still do. This in Korea is shelved as healing fiction, and I just adore the concept because it is such a stark difference from what we have here as like books that you couldn't put down down. You kept turning and ripping the pages because you wanted to continue. This is the opposite of that. It is a thoughtful, slow book, and I just love it. There's phenomenal conversations about work-life balance and the concept of you have to work to live, but then if you work so much, then are you actually living? So you must enjoy what you're doing for work and things like that. There's like a little subplot of romance that is really cute. There's little thoughts like this, okay? It says, dreams can make you miserable. If you're chasing after an impossible dream, you can't enjoy everyday life. But if you feel happy chasing the dream, then it's also a type of happiness, isn't it? Sometimes I think about how lucky it is that I enjoy the wind. When the evening breeze blows, I thank it for clearing up the stuffiness in me and letting me breathe easier. They say hell hath no wind, so thank goodness where I am now must not be hell. If I could capture a moment like this every day, I'll be strong enough to keep going. Humans are complex, but sometimes we can be so simple. We can be content with having some time, whether 10 minutes or an hour, where I can feel, I am so glad I'm alive. So glad to seize and enjoy this moment. If that isn't healing fiction, I don't know what is. It was healing. It was healing for me. I loved this book. I loved my experience. I think that I want to take the energy that I felt and feel when I read and when thinking about this book now into the future. And I'm like, so sappy. I'm so sappy. I don't mean to be, but like this book just like altered my brain chemistry a little bit this year. And it's just really important. It's really important to me now. I don't think it'll be for everyone, but I loved it. And that's that. I will tell you a couple of my honorable mentions because there are a few that I haven't stopped thinking about. Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. I had a lot of fun with this year. This is a phenomenal like fantasy sci-fi dystopian. First in a series. I loved it. It's like Hunger Games-esque and there's body jumping as the magic. Like you can jump from body to body. It's very cool. Open Throat by Henry Hoke was one of the most interesting books I read this year. Very short. We're following a queer mountain lion as our point of view. So the dialogue is very short and staccato-y because mountain lions don't have like the higher level thinking that humans do. So it's very interesting to be inside their head. It explores conversations like gender identity, climate change, alienation, and what it means to be sentient in today's world. Very good. The Unmothers was one of the most surprising books I read all year. It really made me realize that I love folktale horror, and I actually adore this book. Love it. It is for the traumatized horse girlies out there. The Done and Dusted series by Lila Sage, I had so much fun with all year. A yeehaw romance series following a different couple in each book. Very short, very easy, very fun. Loved Emily Henry's Funny Story this year. It was very close to making it into my top 10, but there were others I just felt more strongly about. Blue Sisters by Coco Mellers, phenomenal. Coco Mellers writes unflinchingly complicated, flawed humans so well, and she doesn't try to redeem them. She just writes them in such a truthful, real way, and I love it. I love her. The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst was one of my favorite cozy fantasies of the year. I related so much to the main character. I don't know how that makes me sound, but I loved so much about it. The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. This brought out, oh my god, like little emo me was living. This is a YA fantasy, first in a series. Listen to this quote. The strange happiness that came from loving something without knowing why you did. The strange happiness that sometimes is so big that it feels like sadness. Yeah, I get it. The writing, atmosphere, and characters are phenomenal. I can't wait to continue this series. One of the best thrillers that I read this year was definitely Night Swim by Megan Golden. This was sort of like a 2-for-1 because we're following a podcaster trying to cover a rape trial. And while she's there, she gets a note on her windshield asking for help uncovering what happened to this girl's sister when they were younger in the same town. So we're following 2 different things in this book and it is really, really good. Like 5 stars, 100%. Had to mention it in this video. This is another one that I don't believe that I read it this year. I thought I read it last year, but Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll. This is phenomenal writing. Gives voices to the women who are victims of a serial killer, specifically the women who were victims of Ted Bundy. He's never named in this book, which I think is really important because we're not talking about him. We're talking about the women and giving them a voice. It's very tragic, but beautifully written. That concludes my best of 2024 video. Let me know which one surprised you. Let me know what you think. If you also had any of these books on your top 10, but if not, let me know your best book of the year down below. I have polls in my caption for you to submit your best book of the year because I plan on reading some of your guys's for a video. So check out that link down below in my description. Submit your best books and we'll see what happens. Thank you so much for being here and hanging out with me for a little bit. If you're down there in the comments, leave me the cloud emoji if you don't know what else to say. And while you're down there, please do subscribe and like the video. I always appreciate your support. And of course, be kind to one another and happy reading. Bye.